Ambassador Ta stared through the viewport of his ship as the blue planet grew larger. Earth, the newest world discovered by the Galactic Confederacy's exploration fleet. "Are you nervous, Ambassador?" asked Captain Rin, the tall, four-armed pilot. "No," Ta lied. His pale green skin flushed slightly darker, giving away his true feelings. This was his 20th first contact mission, but something about this planet made him uneasy. The scans showed the humans were still using fossil fuels and had only reached their own moon. Yet somehow, they had developed faster than any species ever recorded. "Prepare landing protocols," Tai ordered. "Remember, we must appear friendly." The Nexuri diplomat checked his translator one last time. His species looked almost human except for their green skin and large black eyes. The Confederacy had chosen him for this mission because his appearance would be less shocking to humans. Their ship landed in an empty field where human representatives waited. The world leaders had been warned about their arrival 3 days ago. Just enough time to prepare, but not enough to panic. Tai took a deep breath and walked down the ramp. Humans in dark suits stood in a line. They were shorter than he expected. In the middle stood a man with a calm face who stepped forward. "Welcome to Earth. I am Jun, representative of the United Nations Security Council." Ta bowed slightly. "I am Ambassador Tai of the Galactic Confederacy. We come in peace." Jun smiled. "We are glad to hear it." The meeting went better than Tai had hoped. The humans seemed curious rather than afraid. They asked intelligent questions about the Confederacy, which included over 30 different species across 200 planets. Later, in a building called the United Nations, Tai explained why they had come. The Confederacy believes in peaceful cooperation between all intelligent species, he said to the room full of human leaders. "We offer technological and medical advancements in exchange for cultural exchange, and eventually, membership." "What would membership require?" asked Jun. "Mainly peace," replied Ta. "The Confederacy has not had war between member worlds for over 2,000 years. Some humans exchanged looks that Tai couldn't read. "That is impressive," said Jun carefully. After the meeting, Tai returned to his ship to report back to the Confederacy Council. He sat at his communication station and began his official record. "First contact with humans successful. They appear reasonable and open to peaceful relations. I recommend proceeding to the next phase of cultural exchange." As he finished recording, Captain Rin entered his chamber. "Ambassador, I've been studying their information networks," she said, her voice tight with concern. "These humans, they have a disturbing history. All young species have violent pasts," Tai replied. "Not like this." Rin handed him a data tablet. "They have had over 15,000 recorded wars in their brief history. They currently have weapons that could destroy their entire planet many times over." Ta scrolled through the information, his large eyes growing wider. "This can't be right." "There's more," Rin continued. "Many of their entertainment programs focus on conflict and battle. They have countless games simulating warfare." "Yet they greeted us peacefully," Ta said, confused. "Yes, that's what worries me most." Rin's 4 hands fidgeted nervously. "They're so comfortable with war, they don't even fear meeting aliens who could destroy them." Ta remembered Jun's calm face when they first met. Not the look of someone afraid, but of someone evaluating a potential ally or threat. "Perhaps we should be cautious," Ta admitted. "But the Council wants Earth as a member world. Their creativity and adaptability could benefit the Confederacy. Or destroy everything we've built," Rin muttered. Tai turned off the tablet. "I will proceed carefully. The cultural exchange will tell us more about their true nature." As his ship lifted off, Todd watched Earth growing smaller below. Such a beautiful blue world. He hoped the warnings about humans were just prejudice against a young species. He was wrong. 1 month after first contact, a human delegation arrived at the Confederacy capital. The massive space station orbited a bright blue star and housed representatives from all 30 member species. Han led the human group. He was a military historian with gray hair and sharp eyes. 5 other humans followed him, all experts in different fields. Ambassador Ta greeted them at the docking bay. "Welcome to Unity Station," he said with a slight bow. "We are honored by your visit." Hyun smiled. "The honor is ours. Earth has dreamed of meeting aliens for centuries." Ta led them through the station's main corridor. Aliens of all shapes and sizes moved around them. Some had 6 legs, others floated in the air. The humans stared with wide eyes. "Our first stop is the Great Council Chamber," Ta explained. "Leaders from all worlds will welcome you formally." The chamber was a huge round room with rising seats. In the center stood a platform where the humans would speak. Thousands of aliens watched as Hyun stepped forward. "People of the Galactic Confederacy," Hyun began. "We bring greetings from Earth. We come eager to learn and share." The welcome ceremony went well. After it ended, Tai took the humans on a tour of the station. They saw gardens with plants from 100 worlds and laboratories with technology beyond human understanding. "This is our war memorial," Ta said as they entered a quiet room. "It honors those who died in the last conflict between member worlds over 2,000 years ago." Hyun studied the displays with unusual interest. "Only one war in 2,000 years?" he asked. "Yes," Tai replied. "The Confederacy was formed to end warfare forever." "Fascinating," Hyun said. "On Earth, the longest peace between major powers was about 70 years. Tai's green skin darkened with concern. "Surely you exaggerate." "Not at all," Hyun said. "Humans have fought wars throughout our entire history." That evening, the Confederacy hosted a dinner for the human guests. Leaders from many worlds sat with the humans, asking questions about Earth. A tall, blue-skinned alien named Locke leaned toward Hyun. "I understand humans enjoy something called strategy games. Are these for teaching children?" Hyun laughed. "Not just children. Adults play them too. Many are based on famous battles from our history." "You have enough famous battles to make multiple games?" asked another alien with surprise. "We have thousands," Hyun replied casually. "Earth has seen over 15,000 recorded wars throughout human history." The room went silent. Several aliens looked shocked. 15,000 wars. Locke whispered, "How is that possible?" Hyun shrugged. "Human nature, I suppose. War has driven much of our technological development." Tai watched as the aliens around the table exchanged worried glances. This was not going as planned. "Perhaps we should discuss Earth's art and music instead," Tai suggested quickly. But the damage was done. At the far end of the table, a group of military advisors from the Confederacy's Defense Council were listening with great interest. Later that night, Tai received an urgent message from the High Council. "Ambassador," said the old alien on the screen, "we've received disturbing reports about the humans. Is it true their history is filled with constant warfare?" "It appears so," Tai admitted, "but they seem peaceful now." "That's even more concerning," the counselor said. "A species does not simply abandon its nature. We need to learn more before proceeding with membership talks." After ending the call, Tai looked out at the stars. The human delegation would stay for another 2 weeks. He needed to understand them better. What worried him most wasn't Hyun's words about war. It was how the human had spoken about it, not with shame or regret, but with a historian's pride. Humans didn't just know war. They understood it in a way the Confederacy had forgotten long ago. 3 months after the human delegation returned to Earth, alarms blared throughout Unity Station. Ambassador Ta ran to the council chamber. Inside, the room was in chaos. "What's happening?" he asked a nearby aide. "The Vexari Empire has attacked our outer colonies," the aide said, voice shaking. 3 worlds are already lost." Tai felt cold fear spread through his body. The Vexari were an aggressive species from beyond Confederacy space. For centuries, they had kept to themselves. Now, without warning, they had launched an attack. On the main screen, images showed Vexari warships destroying Confederacy vessels. The sleek, black ships moved with deadly purpose, their weapons cutting through the Confederacy's defensive shields like they weren't even there. "Our ships are retreating from all sectors," announced a military officer. "We've lost contact with Norrin Colony." 2 million people lived there. The High Counselor, an ancient being with silvery skin, raised his hands for quiet. "We must respond to this aggression. What options do we have?" The room fell silent. The Confederacy had maintained peace for so long that few remembered how to fight a war. "Our ships are designed for exploration and trade," said the defense minister. "They carry only basic shields. The Vexari ships are built for war." "Can we negotiate?" asked another council member. A communication officer stepped forward. "The Vexari sent this message to all Confederacy worlds 1 hour ago." The screen changed to show a Vexari commander. Their reptilian face had no expression as they spoke. "People of the Confederacy, your time of weakness ends now. Surrender all your worlds to the Vexari Empire or face complete destruction. You have 30 days to submit." Silence filled the room again. "We cannot fight," said one counselor. "We have forgotten how." "We cannot surrender," said another. "The Vexari will enslave or kill us all." Tai thought about the humans, about Hyun and his casual talk of thousands of wars. "There may be another option," Ta said slowly. All eyes turned to him. "Earth. The humans. The primitive world," scoffed one counselor. "What can they do against Vexari warships?" "They may not have advanced technology," Tai replied, "but they understand war in ways we no longer do. They have fought more wars in their short history than all Confederacy species combined." The council debated for hours. Many feared bringing humans into the conflict. Others saw no alternative. Finally, the High Counselor spoke. "Ambassador Tay, return to Earth. Ask if they will send advisors to help us. But be clear, we seek only defensive strategies. We will not become conquerors like the Vexari." 3 days later, Tay's ship entered Earth orbit. He sent a message explaining the situation. The humans responded immediately. In a meeting room at the United Nations, Tai faced Jun and several military leaders. "The Vexari have attacked without provocation," Tai explained. "We are not prepared for war. The Confederacy asks for human guidance." Jun nodded gravely. "We discussed this possibility after learning how long you've been at peace. 2,000 years without war means 2,000 years without preparing for it. Can you help us?" Tai asked. "We will send our best military advisor," Jun said. "His name is Jin. He has studied warfare his entire life." When Jin entered the room, Tai was surprised. He had expected a fierce warrior, but Jin was a quiet man with thoughtful eyes and gray hair. "I will need to see everything you have on these Vexari," Jin said. "Their ships, weapons, tactics, everything." "And then?" Tai asked. Jin smiled slightly. "And then we teach your people something they've forgotten: how to fight for survival." As they prepared to leave for Unity Station, Ta wondered if he had made a terrible mistake. He was bringing warfare back to a peaceful galaxy. But as another report came in of a fallen colony, he knew there was no choice. The Confederacy would learn more again, or it would die. Jin sat in the Confederacy war room, watching battle footage for the 3rd time. Ambassador Tai and several council members waited nervously as the humans studied the Vexari attacks. Finally, Jin pressed a button to stop the video. He turned to face the aliens with a calm expression. "Your ships move in straight lines," he said simply. "They never change course, even when under attack." Ta nodded. "That is the most efficient path." "In peace, yes," Jin replied. "In war, it makes you easy targets." He stood up and moved to a large screen. "Watch how the Vexari ships move. They approach from different angles. They use the cover of planets and moons." The council members looked confused. "Why would that matter?" asked a blue-skinned minister. Jin sighed. "Have none of you heard of flanking? Of feints? Of basic battle tactics?" Blank stares answered him. I need to explain some concepts, Jin said. He drew on a tablet, and the image appeared on the main screen. This is flanking. Instead of approaching head-on, you attack from the side or rear where defenses might be weaker. For hours, Jin explained basic military concepts that humans had known for thousands of years. The Confederacy leaders listened with growing understanding and horror. Your technology is superior to the Vexari in many ways, Jin concluded, but they understand warfare and you do not. That is why they're winning. What can we do? Asked Ta. I need to bring in more humans, Jin said. Experts in different areas of military strategy. With your permission, I'd like to assemble a small team. The council debated briefly before agreeing. 3 days later, 5 more humans arrived at Unity Station. Their leader was General Suk, a woman with short gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. This is our team, Jin told Ta. General Suk is our strategic commander. Kang specializes in defensive systems. Du is our weapons expert. Han understands supply chains and logistics, and Young is our communications specialist. Ta greeted each human with a bow. We are grateful for your help. Suk nodded curtly. Let's be clear. Your people are in grave danger. The Vexari aren't just trying to take your territory. They want to destroy your way of life. We understand, Ta said. I don't think you do, Suk replied. We've reviewed your defenses. Your weapon systems are designed to disable, not destroy. Your ships had no protective formations. Your people have no concept of sacrifice for the greater good. The room fell silent. To survive this, Suk continued, you will need to change how you think. You will need to embrace concepts that may feel wrong to you. Like what? Asked a council member. Like deception, said Du, the weapons expert. Like calculated risks where some may die so others can live. Tai felt a chill. These go against our deepest beliefs. Suk's expression softened slightly. We don't ask you to become killers. We ask you to defend yourselves effectively. There is a difference. The humans spent the next day reviewing all Confederacy defense systems. When they gathered again, they had a plan. We need to retrofit your ships, Kang explained. Add stronger shields, improve weapons targeting, create formations that protect each other. And we need to train your people, added Han. They must learn to react quickly to threats. As the meeting continued, Todd watched the humans with growing unease. They dissected the Vexari tactics with ease, finding weaknesses no one in the Confederacy had noticed. They think like warriors, Todd whispered to a fellow diplomat. Is that good or bad? The diplomat asked. Tai didn't answer. He didn't know. Later, as Suk explained battle formations using simple drawings, Tai realized something troubling. The humans weren't teaching the Confederacy to fight. They were teaching them to think like humans. 2 weeks after the human team arrived, Unity Station had changed completely. What was once a place of peace now buzzed with activity as aliens learned the art of war. In a large empty room, General Suk watched as Confederacy pilots practiced new flight patterns. Their small training ships no longer moved in straight lines. Instead, they twisted and turned, creating complex formations. Better, Suk said as they completed the exercise, but still too predictable. In real battle, you must adapt quickly. Ambassador Taz stood nearby, watching with growing concern. They've been practicing for 10 hours straight. War doesn't allow for rest, Suk replied. The Vexari won't give them breaks. Across the station, weapons expert Du worked with engineers to modify their ships. The Confederacy had powerful energy technology, but had never designed it for combat. These shields can be 3 times stronger, Du explained, pointing to diagrams. And your energy beams can be focused to cut through Vexari armor. The engineers looked uncomfortable, but followed his instructions. They had seen the reports from the outer colonies. More worlds fell to the Vexari each day. In another section, a young human named Da had arrived to help. He specialized in something the humans called virtual combat training. This simulation will let your people practice fighting without real danger, Dad explained to Ta. On large screens, virtual ships battled in space. It's based on human video games, but modified to use your technology and Vexari tactics. Ta watched as alien crew members used the simulator. They failed again and again, their ships destroyed by virtual Vexari. But slowly, they began to improve. They're learning, Dai said with pride. Yes, Tay replied quietly. They're learning to destroy. Throughout the station, civilian vessels were being retrofitted with weapons and shields. The Confederacy had few military ships, so they needed to convert everything available. Han, the logistics expert, managed the massive operation. We need more power systems, he told Ta, and more metals for armor plating. Our mining colonies are sending everything they can, Ta said, but some are now under Vexari control. Then we need alternate supply routes, Han replied immediately. Secret paths the Vexari won't expect. Ta was amazed at how quickly the human thought of solutions. It was as if Han could see the entire war in his mind, like a complex game. By the end of the third week, the first defense fleet was ready. 50 ships, formerly used for science and trade, now armed for battle. Their crews had trained day and night in the simulators. Will it be enough? Tai asked Jin as they observed the fleet from a viewing platform. No, Jin said honestly, but it's a start. We need more time. Time was running out. A message arrived from the Vexari Empire. On the main screen in the council chamber, the reptilian commander appeared again. People of the Confederacy, you have not surrendered. We expected this. You now have 15 days, not 30. After that, we will destroy your worlds one by one. After the message ended, the council room erupted in panic. They know we're preparing, someone shouted. They're moving up their timeline. General Suk stood calmly. This is good news, she said, surprising everyone. Good? Asked a council member. How? They feel threatened, Suk explained. They've noticed our activities. They fear what we might become if given enough time. Ta looked at the human general with new understanding. Suk didn't just know warfare. She understood the psychology behind it. That night, unable to sleep, Ta walked through the station. In every section, aliens worked to prepare for war. They spoke using human military terms. They studied human battle tactics. The Confederacy was changing, and Ta wasn't sure if they could ever go back to what they were before. Alarms blared throughout Unity Station. Ambassador Ta ran to the command center where humans and aliens crowded around display screens. Vexari ships approaching Linar Colony, announced a communications officer. 30 attack vessels detected. General Suk stood calmly at the center of the room. This is it, she said. The moment we've prepared for. On the main screen, they could see the Confederacy defense fleet moving into position. 20 ships formed a curved line in front of the colony, with another 15 hidden behind Linar's largest moon. Remember the plan. Jin's voice came through the speakers as he commanded from the lead ship. Main group will engage and then fall back. Second group remains hidden until my signal. Tai held his breath as the Vexari ships approached. Their black, pointed vessels moved in attack formation, weapons already glowing with energy. Why aren't our ships firing? Asked a council member nervously. Patience, Suk replied. Wait for it. The Vexari closed in, clearly expecting an easy victory like all their previous attacks. When they were almost within firing range, the Confederacy fleet suddenly scattered in multiple directions. The Vexari commander seemed confused. Their ships slowed, then split into 3 groups to pursue. Now Jin's voice commanded. The Confederacy ships executed a perfect pincer movement, circling back to trap the separated Vexari groups. At the same moment, the hidden ships emerged from behind the moon, catching the enemy from behind. Fire, ordered Jin. Bright energy beams cut through space. The Confederacy weapons, modified by Du, hit with surprising force. 3 Vexeri ships exploded immediately. The others tried to regroup but found themselves surrounded. "They're attempting to communicate," said a bridge officer. The face of the Vexeri commander appeared on screen. For the first time, the reptilian features showed emotion. Shock. "What is this?" the commander hissed. "The Confederacy does not fight. It does not understand battle." Jin stepped into view. Things have changed. The battle continued for another hour. The Vexeri fought fiercely, but their surprise was clear. 7 more of their ships were destroyed, and 5 damaged badly enough to retreat. The Confederacy lost only 3 vessels. When it ended, cheers erupted throughout Unity Station. The first victory against the Vexeri Empire in the history of the Confederacy. Footage of the battle spread quickly to all member worlds. Some watched with relief, others with shock at the violence. But all understood what it meant. The Confederacy could fight back. In the command center, General Suk didn't join the celebration. She studied the battle data with a serious expression. "What's wrong?" Tai asked her. "We won." "This was a small fleet," Suk explained. "A test of our defenses. The real attack is still coming." Later, Suk met with the council to explain what had happened. "The tactics we used today were basic," she said. "We used deception and flanking maneuvers, simple strategies from Earth's ancient wars." "Will they work again?" asked the High Counselor. "No," Suk replied honestly. "The Vexari will adapt. We must prepare new strategies." That evening, as Tai walked through the station, he noticed how different people reacted to the battle. Some younger aliens practiced combat moves they had seen. Others gathered in quiet corners, disturbed by the killing. The station itself felt different. Security had increased. Military terms entered everyday speech. War was changing them all. In his quarters, Tai watched the battle footage again. The precision of the Confederacy ships surprised him. After just 3 weeks of training, they fought like they had known war for years. A thought troubled him deeply. How quickly peaceful beings had learned to fight. How easily the humans had taught them. When Jin stopped by to discuss the next day's plans, Tai asked the question that bothered him most. "This was just defensive, right? We only protected our colony." Jin nodded. "Of course. That's all this was." But Tai saw something in the human's eyes that worried him. A gleam of satisfaction at victory that went beyond mere defense. 1 week after the first victory, the Vexeri launched their promised major offensive. Hundreds of warships attacked 5 Confederacy worlds at once. This was no longer a test. This was full-scale war. In the command center of Unity Station, chaos reigned. Reports of attacks flooded in from all sectors. Ambassador Ta watched as General Suk calmly directed their response. Group 1 to Pelnar System. Group 2 to Menturi. Group 3, protect Alzin, she ordered. Her voice never wavered despite the crisis. Jin stood beside her, pointing at tactical displays. "The Vexeri have changed their formations. They're using a spread pattern to counter our flanking moves." "They learn quickly." Suk nodded. "So must we." The human advisors had prepared for this. Over the past weeks, they had studied every Earth war in history, adapting ancient tactics for space combat. Now they put these plans into action. "Implement Earth War Plan Delta," ordered Suk. Tad leaned toward Han, who stood nearby. "What is Plan Delta?" "Based on Earth's World War II Pacific Theater," Han explained. "Island hopping strategy. We concede some outer worlds temporarily while focusing on defending key planets and cutting their supply lines." Tai stared in shock. "Concede worlds? With millions of people?" "We'll evacuate who we can," Han said grimly. "But we can't defend everything at once. This is war." Throughout the day, battles raged across Confederacy space. The newly trained ships fought bravely, but the Vexeri numbers were overwhelming. 3 colonies fell. Millions of refugees fled toward the inner systems. In the engineering section, Yumda worked frantically with alien technicians. The human had developed something new, an artificial intelligence system that could predict Vexari movements. It analyzes patterns from thousands of Earth battles, Dad explained to Todd when he visited. The AI suggests counter tactics faster than any commander could. You're using a machine to make war decisions? Tai asked, troubled. Just suggestions, Day replied. Humans still make the final choices. That didn't comfort Tai. The machines displayed battle simulations showing ships as simple dots. It made death seem clean and distant. By the third day of fighting, the situation had stabilized somewhat. The Confederacy lost 7 worlds but successfully defended 12 others. The cost was high, nearly 100 ships destroyed and thousands of lives lost. In a private meeting room, Jin proposed their next move to the council. We can't stay defensive forever. The Vexari will wear us down. What do you suggest? Asked the High Counselor. Jin's eyes were hard as he answered. Counterattack. Strike at their supply bases. Disrupt their fuel production. Attack. Ta couldn't believe what he was hearing. Not just defend, but actually invade their territory. Not invasion, Jin clarified. Strategic strikes. Hit them where it hurts most, then pull back. Suk added, we'll use psychological warfare tactics. Make them fear our appearances. Create uncertainty about where we'll strike next. The council debated fiercely. Some saw no choice but to follow the human advice. Others feared losing their identity as a peaceful civilization. If we attack them, how are we different from the Vexari? One member asked. Intent, Jin answered simply. They fight for conquest. We fight for survival. After hours of debate, the council approved a limited counteroffensive. Preparation began immediately. That night, Tay confronted Jin in an empty corridor. This isn't what we asked for. We wanted defense, not to become aggressors. Jin's face showed no emotion. You asked us to save your civilization. This is how it's done. By becoming like them. By embracing war. By understanding it, Jin corrected. War is like fire, dangerous when out of control, but necessary for survival in the cold void of space. As Ta walked away, he realized how much had changed. The Confederacy ships now moved in attack formations. Their weapons were designed to destroy, not disable. Their leaders spoke of acceptable losses. They were becoming more like humans every day, and that terrified him more than the Vexari ever could. The counter-offensive against the Vexari had been underway for 2 weeks. The Confederacy forces, trained by humans, struck deep into enemy territory, destroying supply depots and fuel stations. Each victory pushed the Vexari back further. Ambassador Ta stood in the observation room of Unity Station, watching the latest battle footage. A Confederacy fleet had just destroyed a major Vexari base. The explosions lit up space like tiny suns. Behind him, the human team celebrated. General Suk clinked glasses with Jin and the others. Their faces glowed with satisfaction. A perfect execution of the pincer movement, Suk said proudly, just like the Battle of Cannae on Earth, over 2,000 years ago. The Vexari never saw it coming, agreed Dai, the young engineer. My prediction system calculated only a 12% chance they would detect our ships before the attack. Tay turned away from the celebration. He couldn't share their joy. The screen showed Vexari ships breaking apart, their crews dying in the cold vacuum of space. This wasn't defense anymore. This was destruction. An emergency council meeting was called that evening. The High Counselor addressed the gathered representatives from all Confederacy worlds. The counteroffensive has succeeded beyond our expectations, he announced. The Vexari have been pushed back from our territory. Cheers erupted from many council members, but others sat in silence, their faces troubled. General Suk has proposed our next step, the High Counselor continued. She suggests we push deeper into Vexari space, attack their homeworld directly. Shocked whispers filled the chamber. Attack the Vexari homeworld. This was far beyond what many had imagined. Suk stepped forward to explain. A direct threat to their home planet will force them to pull back all forces to defend it. We can then establish a buffer zone and negotiate from a position of strength. Negotiate? Asked a council member. Or dictate terms? Whatever ensures our safety, Suk replied firmly. Debate erupted throughout the chamber. Some council members argued they must finish what they started. Others worried they had gone too far already. Tad listened to both sides, his mind troubled. When the council asked for his opinion as the diplomat who had first contacted humans, he stood slowly. I have watched us change, Ta began. 3 months ago, we were a peaceful confederacy. We had not seen war in 2,000 years. Now we discuss attacking an enemy homeworld as if it were normal. He looked at the human advisors. The humans have taught us well, perhaps too well. We have learned to think like them, to see conflict as they do. Tay's voice grew stronger, but at what cost? I've seen our people celebrate destruction. I've heard us discuss acceptable casualties without flinching. We are becoming something I no longer recognize. Silence fell over the chamber. The Vexari attacked us first. Someone finally said, we had no choice. There is always choice, Tay replied. And I fear we have chosen the human path too eagerly. He turned to face the entire council, his green skin darkened with emotion. Don't you see? We can't win this way. Not truly. The humans are gods of war. They've turned us into warriors in mere months. If we continue down this path, we may defeat the Vexari, but lose ourselves. The chamber erupted again. Some called Ta a coward. Others defended him. The council was more divided than ever. In the chaos, Jin approached Ta quietly. You think we enjoy teaching you to kill? He asked. We don't, but sometimes survival requires difficult choices. Does it require becoming exactly like our enemy? Ta asked. Jin had no answer. As the debate raged on, a message arrived from the front lines. The Vexari had sent a communication requesting peace talks. The room fell silent again. No one had expected this. Why would they want peace now? Asked the High Counselor. When we are winning. Suk's expression was grim, because they fear what we are becoming. Tay realized she was right. The Vexari feared what the Confederacy had become under human guidance. And so did he. The peace negotiations were set on a neutral space station at the edge of Confederacy territory. Both sides agreed to bring only 3 ships each. No weapons would be active. Ambassador Ta prepared for the most important diplomatic mission of his life. The council had chosen him to lead the Confederacy delegation. To everyone's surprise, they also selected a human to join them. Not General Suk or Jin, but Min, a new arrival from Earth. Why Min? Ta asked Jin before departure. She has no military experience. She's a peace negotiator, Jin explained. On Earth, she helped end conflicts between nations. She understands how to make peace after war. Min was a quiet woman with calm eyes and a thoughtful manner. On the journey to the neutral station, she spoke little, studying reports on the Vexari culture and history. They value strength, Min finally said, but also honor. We can use both in these talks. When they arrived, the Vexari ships were already waiting. Both delegations entered the station carefully. The Vexari representatives looked fearsome with their reptilian features and battle armor, but Ta noticed something in their eyes he hadn't seen before. Uncertainty. The lead Vexari, Commander Krell, spoke first. The Confederacy has changed, he stated. You fight with unexpected skill. We learned quickly, Tai replied. From the humans, Krell said, looking at Min. We have observed their influence. They have turned peace lovers into warriors. Min stepped forward. Is that why you requested these talks? Fear of what humans might teach next. The commander's silence was answer enough. For 3 days, they negotiated. The discussions were tense. Several times, the Vexari threatened to leave. But Min always found a way to keep them talking. To Ta's surprise, Min did not push for harsh terms. When the Vexari expected demands for surrender or territory, she instead proposed mutual withdrawal and a demilitarized zone between their empires. The Confederacy does not seek conquest, Min explained to the confused Vexari. We seek security and peace. On the final day, as they prepared to sign the agreement, Commander Krell addressed Ha privately. We attacked because we thought you weak, the Vexari admitted. The Confederacy seemed easy prey with no understanding of warfare. We still don't fully understand it, Tai replied honestly. We just had good teachers. These humans, Krell said, looking toward Min. They taught you to fight like devils, yet now push for merciful terms. They are strange creatures. Yes, Tai agreed. They understand both the necessity and the horror of war, something neither of our peoples fully grasped. The peace treaty was signed that evening. The Vexari would return to their territory. The Confederacy would not pursue them. A neutral zone would separate their empires, monitored by both sides. Upon returning to Unity Station, Ta found the council already discussing the future. Some wanted to maintain their new military strength. Others wished to return to their peaceful ways. We cannot go back entirely, Ta told them. But we need not become conquerors either. The council eventually approved a new plan. The Confederacy would create a defensive force, trained under human guidance, but with strict ethical controls. It would protect their worlds without seeking expansion. 6 months later, Earth was formally invited to join the Confederacy. The ceremony was held on Unity Station, with representatives from all member worlds attending. After the official events, Ta found Jin looking out at the stars. Was it worth it? Tai asked. Teaching us to fight. I hope so, Jin replied. You learned something about war. Perhaps we learned something about peace. Ta nodded. In his final report to the council, he had written, humans are indeed gods of war, but not because they love fighting, because they understand its cost better than anyone. They fight fiercely when needed, yet seek peace just as passionately. This paradox makes them dangerous, yet essential allies. As human and alien ships flew together in a ceremonial formation outside the station, Tay realized the galaxy would never be the same. Neither would his people, or humans. They had all been changed by their encounter, hopefully for the better.